Aloha kako, and welcome to the West Hawaii Association of Realtors 2020 County Council Candidate Interviews. My name is Kristen Moreland, and I am the broker owner of Hikino Property Management. I chair the Government Affairs Committee for our association. Our committee extended the opportunity to participate in our interviews with each candidate who filed. While our association does not endorse candidates, we believe it is important to inform our membership and the community at large. This is an opportunity for the candidates to answer questions related to real estate and real property rights as they pertain to the candidate's platform and policies. The interview will consist of an introduction of the candidate, followed by an opening statement of 1 minute. We'll then have 6 questions, each has a timed response of 2 minutes. And then we'll have a summary statement from the candidate and conclude. This interview will be conducted by Tanya Power from Windermere CNH Properties. Tanya is a member of our Government Affairs Committee and is a former chair of the same committee. Now let's meet the candidate. Tim Richards is a candidate for County Council District 9. At this time, we welcome candidate Richards to give a 1-minute opening statement. Candidate?
Aloha, everyone. My name is Tim Richards. I am the sitting county council member from District 9, North-South Kohala. That includes Hawi, Kapa'au, Kauai, Puako, Waikoloa, and Waimea, and Waikiki Ranch. Except for being away at school, I have always lived in District 9. I was actually born in Kapa'au back in the days. My interest and my passion is agriculture. My platform is agriculture, affordable housing, and the economy overall. I believe that we can make this shift. We've seen this COVID-19 episode really challenge our county, and I believe we can make a shift. The term now is pivot, to make agriculture a far bigger portion of our economy overall, which will increase our overall food self-reliance and food security. It's my passion, and I truly believe that that's our future. So with that, thanks for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to share my thoughts, and let's get her done.
Hello, candidate Richards. And now let's get on to those questions, like you say. Tanya?
Thanks for being here, Tim, today and answering questions for us to educate our membership and the public at large. Our first question today is on the International Energy Conservation Code, commonly referred to as the IECC. Was instituted with amendments last year by the County Council, an unintended consequence for residents of Hawaii Island, and that the IECC and Hawaii County Code combined imposed unreasonable expense to homeowners for minor modifications to their homes. If elected, how would you go about modifying the code to correct the burdens it places on Big Island property owners?
Well, thanks for the question. Actually, this is already in process. Before us now is the modification of the whole building code, and the general direction of that is something I truly support. Rather than having your electrical and your plumbing and your building, we're consolidating all that down to one. Specifically on this IECC, one of the concerns that we brought forth was that if someone wanted to put a window-mounted air conditioner into the home, you need a building permit, and some of these homes are not conducive to having the modifications like the insulation, put in the ceilings or whatever. I raised this concern over 6 months ago. And right now, as we speak, there is an amendment being introduced to modify this, and I think we're going to take care of this coming forward. I understand the concern. I understand the reasoning behind it. It was so we didn't overburden our power system. But that being said, sometimes we have to put a little common sense into government. So I think we're on the road to have this attended to already, and I will be supporting the amendments.
Thank you. Our next question is on workforce housing. Everyone agrees that there's a need for more affordable housing on the Big Island. Workforce housing brings families closer to their jobs, alleviates traffic congestion, and promotes healthier families and communities. How will you develop and support workforce housing?
As I mentioned before, one of the planks in my platform is affordable housing. And however you want to characterize it, affordable housing, workforce housing, it's housing for our next generation. We have a huge need for housing in our county today. I was born, as I mentioned before, in this county a long time ago. And at that time, we had 1/3 the population. Today, we have almost 200,000 people living here, and the demand for housing is high. I've seen estimates anywhere from 15 to 20,000 units needed in the next 5 years. Projects coming forth in District 9, there are 6 projects that I'm aware of for affordable housing. What we have to do is we first of all have to have the political will, which we do, and then we have to find builders that are willing to do this, which we have, and then we must have public policy that will support it. We have to employ programs such as the state law 201H, which allows us to build affordable housing in areas that otherwise may not be accessible to us. And we can do this. We can forgo some of the costs of the infrastructure, which is one of our biggest challenges. Not that it affects any health or safety issues, but frankly, I think it makes a better neighborhood. If we can cut down the land costs, we cut down the infrastructure costs, thereby we can actually build housing that is more affordable for our people. And it's my job to promote the legislation that supports all that.
Thank you. Our third question's on the reopening. Hawaii is extraordinarily successful in avoiding the COVID-19 virus. What do you identify as the 3 most important actions the council can take to support the safe reopening of the island's economy?
Okay, first of all, to COVID-19, I have allergies in my throat. I am not sick, okay? So let's just clear that one up right now. I was working cattle in a very dusty situation. County council is legislative. We come up with ordinances, but we do not enforce them, we do not manage. However, what county council can do is recognize the impacts of the shutdown. What specifically I'm talking about is our overall economy. And we have to figure out how we can support our economy coming forward. One of the things that we have done is you've seen all the CARES money coming forth. Implement that. Our county has about $80 million coming from our state that is out of that $1.25 billion that came to the state from the feds. Implement those funding to take care of the people, take care of the businesses going forward. We have a big challenge with that. 40% of our economy was tourism. That went from a $8.5 billion GDP for our county down to what, 5 maybe? We have a lot of people out of work right now. And so our job is to support the programs and the infrastructure to keep people going until we can start opening up. Once we do start opening up, we have to support good, sound policy, meaning testing in place, social distancing, and the use of masks. We have to keep all this in mind if we're going to reopen. So that's our job as legislative. Support the projects that will support our people going forth.
Thank you. The next question is one of my favorites, short-term vacation rentals. This is a 2-part question. Do you think the state of Hawaii should interfere with Hawaii County's home rule and pass legislation to dictate short-term vacation rental regulations? And what is your position on enforcement of the STVR ordinance?
I was sitting councilman when we passed Bill 108, I think is the number. And I was very much in support of having a structure for the short-term vacation rental. We do need to have a structure that allows it to exist, but there's a lot of holes in it. And I've told people, I think we know we crafted somewhat of a reasonable piece of legislation when everybody was equally unhappy coming forth. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of problems with trying to make a one-size-fits-all. And do we have something perfect? No, there are still holes in it. And there's been some grandfathering in, there's been some accommodations made. And for some for the right reasons, some maybe we have to talk more about this. Generally speaking, I have one constituent in Waikoloa Village. She is gone 6 months out of the year, but she couldn't be if she wasn't allowed to have a vacation rental. And so there's these types of stories all across. Now I'm going to jump back a little bit. Do I support the state having oversight and removing home rule? Absolutely not. I think we know better for our county than the state. We can have overarching guidelines perhaps, but for our local oversight, I think we know better. And it's not going to be perfect. Generally, sitting through the hours, and I mean hours and hours of testimony, a lot of it was a poor neighbor policy, meaning we have people on vacation in neighborhoods and they created a problem. That's something that we have to take care of. And I think we've addressed a good portion of it, not all yet. Some of the things were allowed without question in the resort nodes. I've had complaints from the resort nodes about vacation rentals in the resort nodes. I thought that was a little paradoxical. There's not going to be a one size fits all, but I do believe that we should keep the law and the home rule in place, because for our community, Big Island, we're big, and I think we handle things a little bit differently than some of the smaller islands.
Thank you. The next question is on taxation. Increasing real property taxes is a short-term fix and may continue to drive people away from our state. What are some of the long-term plans to help generate new sources of revenue for the county that does not include raising taxes?
Specifically here, in a recession, the thought of raising taxes to balance a budget, I believe, is ludicrous. What we have to be more concerned about is the economy overall. I did not support the two-tier tax structure because what I believe is that two-tier tax structure is affecting people that give so much to our communities anyway. Their donations are high. And I think that we have 140,000 properties in our county. That piece of legislation affected only about 900. And those 935, if I recall correct, pay already almost 20% of the tax, the real property tax. What I firmly believe is that going forward is we have to expand our economy. And that comes back to one of your previous questions about we have to have good sound policy that expands our economy. Personally, I think agriculture can be a big portion of that. We don't need to increase the tax rate. We need to increase the tax base, meaning expand what's going on here. And that expanded tax base at the same rate will generate the revenues that we need to balance our budgets. So that's my perspective going forward. I think we truly need to focus on the economy and not so much on just trying to balance the budget. It is short term. I want to look at the long term, because if we go to expanding the economy by expanding our business opportunities, we create jobs, we create the economies within our own county that will then better take care of our people and keep our young people here, because they'll have an opportunity, which gets into the housing side, but that's not part of this conversation.
Oh, but it is. It is.
Oh, is that the next question?
No,
Okay.
but you're talking to the realtors, so it definitely is.
Yeah, and the reality is, if we don't have the resources, which come from a tax base, which come from a dynamic economy, we'll become stagnant and we won't be able to afford to do what we truly need to do, which is the three needs of a society: food, shelter, and security. And if we don't have those three things, those are the foundational needs of a society. If we don't have the resources to afford that, we can't go forward.
Thank you. This is our last and final question. It's on infrastructure. There was a sewage spill in Kailua Bay recently that closed the bay. We need infrastructure improvements for wastewater systems, both in the residential and the commercial real estate sectors. Assessing the individual homeowner for the cost is one option, but what will you do in the next 2 years to move the county forward in upgrading the county's wastewater systems?
This is a multifaceted question, and a 2-minute answer I don't think we'll get to the bottom, but we're sure going to try. We have approximately 85,000 cesspools in our state. About 50,000 are on our island within our county. The first and most concerning is the nearshore waters or the coastlines, like Kailua, like Huako, like Keaukaha. These are our primary concerns. And the reason being is because we have aged infrastructure and it is coming to its end of its useful life. What are we going to do? We have a mandate to be rid of all of our cesspools by 2050. I've looked at this. I chair agriculture, water, energy, and environmental management. So I've looked at this to sewer. Right now, I think we have a little bit less than 15% of our county overall on some sort of sewage treatment program. To actually get this done and to maybe double that and take us up to a third, we're talking probably $1.5 billion. Our county budget is only 600 million, so we're talking triple the cost. What I have looked at, and this is not popular, and I don't support this, and I didn't put this forth this year, but if we collectively were to put a very slight increase on real property tax, and I'm talking a fraction of a percent, to get a few dollars out of that, for the 140,000 properties, we could probably generate, I've calculated up to maybe $5 or $7 million that we could turn around and then bond about $50 million worth of infrastructure. My concern is we can't do this if the economy is stagnant. It has to be when the economy is going forward. The other option, of course, is to, and we're working on this, is to seek federal funding to help us out. So with that, it's not an easy answer, and I've been scratching my head on it, but I'll propose for that going forward.
Thanks very much, Tim. We appreciate you joining us. You've got a few minutes to tell us why we should vote for you.
Well, thank you. And first of all, again, thanks to the West Hawaii Association of Realtors for this invitation. This is a very strange time. It's a very strange year. And sitting on council for the last almost 4 years now, we've gone from one crisis and one episode to the next. And each one has challenged us with making more out of the box thinking. When I first joined council, it was quite a steep learning curve, I will tell you, and I'll be very honest with that. But in the last 3.5 years, I've really gotten an appreciation and understanding for how government works, or sometimes doesn't work, and the cost of how to get things done. I have yet to be involved in an organization that ever had too much money. Government is no different than that. What it's going to take is some innovative thinking to go forward and a deep understanding of where we need to go. From my perspective, I truly believe that we have an opportunity to change our economy, make it an agricultural aspect that ties into tourism. We talked about vacation rental. Maybe we have tourism and vacation rental in agriculture so people can learn about agriculture. People don't come from agriculture anymore. But I think this is the time we have an opportunity to shift that'll create more jobs in the agricultural sector. But if we want to also tie in the renewable energy generation, I have a whole nother project and concept on that. And you can find that on my webpage. So I could keep going because, like I said, all I've been doing is talking, but I really appreciate this opportunity. I have the experience, the knowledge, and the depth of understanding to take our county forward. And I really look forward to continuing my work for everybody out there. So aloha and thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
Mahalo. Mahalo, Councilman Richards and interviewer Tanya Powers, for your willingness to participate in our program. We wish you the best on Election Day.
Thank you so much, and again.
And to our audience, mahalo for tuning in. Don't forget that primary election ballots will be delivered by July 21st for an August 8th primary. The general election is November 3rd. Mahalo for watching, and please vote. Aloha.